The moment I pushed the door open, I had to quickly dodge out of the way to avoid being beheaded by the man on the other side. I scowled as I cut his arm off his body by stabbing him in the shoulder and dragging my blade down. He gripped the gaping wound as he fell, screaming in agony and with his hand covered in blood. I pushed his lifeless form aside and moved as fast as I could to enter the palace. "Darium!" Nico yelled as an arrow passed where my head had been and snatching my arm at the last moment and hauling me toward the side. It had escaped my notice that he had also followed me into the palace, and I had no time to think about it because I saw a man in Hayatia clothes walking up a short distance away from us holding a bow and arrow. "Really?" I whispered as a blade dug into his neck. I looked at Nico, who had 8 more tossing blades in his possession starched in within his waist and boots. As we made our way through the palace walls in pursuit of Oren, we dispatched all of his men who stood in our path. I walked down the short set of stairs, closely followed by Nico. Since the majority of the fighting and bloodshed occurred in the rear, there were fewer men there. We moved around the palace in search of where Oren might be. Not having seen him, we searched the throne room, the library, the garden, and everywhere else we could think of. He was definitely hiding somewhere here, we just needed to figure out where. The sound of footsteps approaching us from behind caused Nico and I to turn around with our swords drawn, ready to strike down our foe. Nico stays in position, but I drop my sword upon seeing an elderly maid. With some sense of who I was, the older maid bowed to me. "King Sviatoslavic." She greeted me with trepidation. "Who are you?" I questioned her while giving her a wary look and wondering why she approached us rather than fleeing when she saw us. "I'm Raleigh. Your Majesty." Her head is lowered as she responds. "I'm certain your Majesty is in search of his queen. The Queen Letitia had escaped just after the warning bell had been rung. And why ought I to trust you? Because after King Oren brought the queen here, I was given the responsibility of keeping an eye on her. She claims. I might not have been able to help the queen then, but I had witnessed her escaping after the warning sign." The older woman explained. "And the King Oren can be found on the west side of the palace, on the last floor of those wings, which happens to be his secret hideout." "Why are you telling us this? Why are you helping us?" I questioned with skepticism. "This is simply me paying up a debt," she answers, and I glance at Nico, who lets his sword down and away from her. "I am grateful for your assistance," I told her as we started walking toward the west wing. When we got to the stairwell, a blade of a dagger embedded itself in the wall post behind me, giving me enough time to kick its wielder away and cut him down. Nico and I had already killed every man who were trying to kill us upon entering the palace. We still haven't caught sight of Letitia, and just like the maid had said, she had managed to escape and was probably with Neith. Right now, what matters is to put an end to Oren and his menacing ways. I stepped aside in time to avoid getting hit by another arrow that flew by, only to have another Hayatia guard confront me. Dodging another archer who made open combat difficult, I fought him off while I waited for Nico to eliminate another. I became aware of the arrow embedded in my arm when I felt a sudden, sharp pain. I stumbled back, attempting to get out of the archer's visual range and protecting my head from the swordsman's scald. A cry was raised, drawing attention to the archer's lifeless body that was now lying in a shattered heap on the ground after Nico had stabbed him in the back and knocked him down 3 stories. By taking advantage of this diversion, I cut through the man's stomach with my own sword, gripped the hilt tightly, and then dragged it across, spilling his insides onto the palace floor, causing him to die shortly after. "Darium!" Nico comes charging at me, a worried expression on his face. "It's nothing more than a prick," I told him, letting him know that I was going to be okay. I bit back the urge to groan as I grabbed hold of the arrow and pulled it out of my arms. "We need to find Oren," I said, not caring that blood was trickling down my armor. We continued our ascent to the top floor, where Raleigh had indicated he would be. Nico held onto the knob, twisting it open, and as soon as the door was pulled open, he was attacked by Oren's sword, but he was quick to dodge it before it caused him any harm. Nico began launching himself at him, but I raised a hand, telling him to step back as this fight was between me and Oren. I swung my sword at him, but he was quick to escape its impact. His expression was one of fear. Smirking, I stepped forward and swung my sword at Oren once more. He attempted to jump out of the way as before, but this time he was a little too slow and took a slice to his lower abdomen. Though not enough to injure him fatally, it was enough to tear his clothing and start bleeding from the wound, giving his face a terrified expression. "It's time to meet your end." My face contorted in rage as I hissed at him. His hands shot to the wound, and blood quickly trickled onto his finger through the ripped fabric. "Trust me, you won't be missed." I did not give him a chance to recover from his shock before slashing my sword wildly at him as he backed into a corner. He let out tiny screams of pain with every new cut on his body. "Please, please, I beg of you." With his face covered in blood, Oren fell to his knees and begged. "Stop, please. Have mercy," he begged. "Mercy? You want mercy?" I asked, astonished, and Oren gave me a frantic nod, which infuriated me even more. "What about the innocent people who died because of you? You probably didn't think about the consequences of your actions when you killed them or when you thought you could kidnap my wife, my queen," I yelled. "And now you think asking for mercy would end it all?" My sword pointed at his frightened throat. "I will give you a reason to want mercy." I darkly finished, then drove my sword deep into his shoulder, tearing the agonized shriek from his lips. "I will give you a taste of the pain you have caused others, and only then will I give you the mercy of death," I told him, then twisted the sword in the wound. "You think it is over by killing me, you have no idea who you are up against," Oren cried out in a deafening scream. "Let me live, and I will tell you everything." He tried bargaining, gulping nervously. "Do you seriously think I will fall for any crap you have to say?" I spit it out. "You are just doing so to save your pathetic excuse of a life. Aren't you curious to know who is betraying you?" he asked, smiling slyly. "I'm sure you didn't know it was someone close to you too." His eyes moved to look at Nico. "Someone you both trust and would have never suspected." My brows furrowed, wondering what he meant. Who did we need to be cautious of? Who is it that we trusted that was betraying us and working for him? The next moment happened so quickly. Oren grabbed his sword, which was lying right beside him, and moved to stab me in the heart. I was quick to grab his wrist, twisting it to his back, before pulling my sword from his shoulder to his chest and driving the blade home. Oren's mouth opened in a silent cry of pain as I dug the sword down his chest. I stopped and pulled the blade out of his, and he spluttered out blood. "You fool, you have no idea about your sister." Oren smirks. "Letitia is probably dead." He tried speaking, but his blood spilled out of his mouth as he fell to the floor, dead. Oren words circled around my brain, and I tried to make sense of them until they finally clicked, and I stumbled back, shocked. I turned to gaze at Nico, who had a pale look on his face. "He is probably just messing with us," he mutters, shaking his head. "There is no way Neith would ever work with him or do anything to hurt Letitia." "We need to find Neith first," I asked, also finding it hard to believe. "Let's search the palace again." He nodded, and we both raced out of the throne room, searching through the palace, before returning to where we started. "Any luck?" I asked Nico, and he shook his head, looking dejected. "Where could they be?" I thought to myself. My eyes wandered around the corridor, trying to see if there was something we had missed, until I spotted a small door at the back of the stairs. It was hidden underneath it, making it difficult to see. I alerted Nico, nodding my head towards the door, and we both slowly began making our way towards it. Nico pulls it open, showing a staircase going down. I walked in first, with him trailing behind me. The stench was what welcomed us. A foul smell or blood and something rotting were so prominent that I had to cover my nose, my eyes moving around the dungeon. Nico walks past me, unlocking one of the cages and clutching down to inspect a corpse that was already decaying, and the better part had turned into a skeleton, making it hard to deduce who it was. He pulled off the cloak he was wearing, placing it on the corpse, before rising to his feet. "I think this is Lady Halliwell." "Tegan?" I asked, and he nodded. "How sure are you that she is the one?" He points to the bracelet she had on, which was a family heirloom. "I guess we were right about her being dead," he says. Seeing how badly decomposed her body is, it is clear to say she has been dead for months. It's highly aggravating that they didn't have the courtesies to give her a befitting burial or alert her family. Tegan may have been pesky and conceited, but she was still from a high-ranking noble family in Nisha. She definitely did not deserve this. I sighed, understanding what he meant. Have the guards handle her body. We will be taking her back home with us, I ordered, and he nodded before walking out of the dungeon. Letting out a deep breath, I sighed, running my fingers through my head. I still didn't know where Neith and Letitia were, which was daunting. After giving the body one final glance, I began making my way out of the dungeon when a faint sob halted my footsteps. I turned to look at the remaining closed cell doors, trying to figure out where the sound was coming from. Help! The voice was faint and weak. It was coming from the last cage. I hurried towards it, unlocking the door before walking in, and was stunned to see Letitia's handmaid laying there, battered and with blood sipping from every path of her body. She was barely breathing, her face and eyes were swollen from being hit repeatedly. Without wasting time, I hauled her up into my arms, rushing out of the dungeon to the first room I could find, gently placing her on the bed, before rushing out, bumping into Nico and some guards in the process. I need a healer. I said this to one of the guards, and he rushed out. What's wrong? Are you hurt? He questioned me, his eyes racking over my body in search of any form of injury. No, I'm fine, I answered, shaking my head. I found Letitia's handmaid. Kiva. He questioned me, and I nodded. She is in bad shape and needs to be attended to. Then I'm guessing she is not the one we are looking for. He questioned me, and I could see the fear in his eyes. Any luck finding Neith and Letitia? None yet. He replies with a sigh. I have asked the guards to search the woods. Maybe they should have run in the direction of the wood to avoid any of Oren's men. I hope so. I muttered more to myself, wishing for that to be the case, yet Oren's last words wouldn't leave my head. The way he talked about Neith made it seem like Letitia was in danger of being with her. Like Nico had said, he might just be messing with us. Yet what did he have to lose while implying such hunting meaning in his final words? Hey! Don't let that bastard word get to you, Nico says, placing a hand on my shoulder. I'm trying. I sighed. You know for a fact that his words still hunt you as well. You're right, but I'm trying not to think about it. For all we know, it might be the ranting of a madman near the deathbed. Your Majesty, the healer is here, the guard says, getting our attention away from Oren's words. A young man in his 30s glanced at me with a fearful face before bowing. I need you to take care of someone, she is barely holding on. I don't care what you do, but you must save her. She might be the key to finding out what was going on.
Third person's POV.
Taking a rest won't hurt, you know. I didn't realize you were in charge. Neith snapped, glaring at the man beside her. Darium is no doubt searching for us. We need to cover as much ground as possible till we get to where we need to be. And we exactly are that. It's none of your business, Kaelin. She responded, pissed at his questions. You are alive, only because I need you to carry Letitia and nothing more. Make no mistake, as I won't think twice about slicing through your neck. Kaelin's jaw clenched, and his hold on Letitia tightened as he adjusted her body on his shoulder. I still don't understand why you need to go through such length. Why don't we go back and ask your brother for forgiveness? Who knows, he might have mercy on us. If you think Kaelin is second that I'm going to stop here after coming this far, then you are sadly mistaken. Neith scoffed, stomping on the ground as she walked past the shrub. At least, why don't we find a healer to help treat her wounds? Her face looks pale, and I think she might be running a fever. Ugh, it's just a simple graze, it's not like it would kill her. Quit whining. Neith. Seriously, Kaelin. What would it take to get you to keep shut for 5 fucking seconds? She stopped on her track, turning to glare at him. Don't think for a second that I have forgotten what you did. You had almost ruined it all when you went to Letitia. What did you think you wanted to achieve when you went to her and almost spilled everything to her? I thought telling her would help ease Darium's anger. He answers truthfully. You know how much he loves her. If she pleads in your stead, he would no doubt listen to her. Well then, too bad. Neith smirks darkly. I don't want her pleading for my stead, I want her gone. Neith. One more word, Kaelin, and I would forget that you are Celeste father and won't think twice to bury a sword through your heart.
Darium's POV.
You don't think something happened to them, right? Nico asked as I stared blankly at the food before me, not having the appetite. It has been 2 days since we took over Hayatia, yet there is no sight of Neith or Letitia. I have asked the guards to tour the woods and the town to see if anyone has maybe seen a glimpse of them or someone who fits their description, and each time they return with no news. Let's put the negative thoughts aside and hope for them to be okay.
Easier said than done.
He responds with a sigh. Any NEWS from the guards sent back home? They aren't there, Nico. My voice came out ragged. I'm trying to keep a clear head here. I didn't get to see Letitia. I don't know if she is all right or not. I don't know if Oren hurt her. I feel my heart beating expeditiously with dread when I think about it. It doesn't help that it's been 2 weeks since I last saw the twins, or that there hasn't been a word from Devlin and Zane. Everything is just messed up. All we can do is wait for Letitia's handmaid to regain consciousness, and then we will know the truth. Know the truth? Nico questioned me with creased brows. The truth being whether Neith is involved or not. When he got no response from me, his hand clenched into a fist, and I could tell he was pissed. But what was I to think? Everything felt so real. I tried not to let Oren's words affect me, but I couldn't keep my mind off the possibility. The thought of Neith being involved was scaring the crap out of me, but I know not to show my emotions, trying to keep a passive face. The loud bang from the table snapped me out of my thoughts, and I turned to face a raging Nico. You can't seriously be suspecting Neith. He says it adamantly. Yes, there is no doubt that she can be hot-headed, but you know your sister and know for a fact that she adores Letitia. She would never do anything to hurt her. We don't know that, I said. I mean, we have always wondered about the mysterious woman working with Oren and how he was always a step ahead of us, like he knew our plans.
It's not Neith,
he yells. It's surprising how easy it is for you to point an accusing finger at her just because of Oren's words. Are you really going to believe the word of a dead man whose main aim was to see your defeat? Do you think I'm happy about this? Neith isn't just your wife or a princess of Nisha, she is also my sister. Someone I love and cherish. I wish for nothing more than my suspicion should be nothing more than that, and that she hasn't in fact betrayed the kingdom, betrayed us. I sighed, closing my eyes as I took a deep, relaxing breath before opening them. Arguing about this isn't going to get us anywhere. Clearly. Nico mutters underneath his breath, but I was still able to pick up on his word. He gulped down on his glass of wine, slamming the cup down on the table, just as the door opened and the Hayatia healer walked in, giving a bow before speaking. The maid has regained consciousness, he informed. Instantly, Nico and I rose to our seats. Rushing out of the dining room, our untouched food still lay on the table. I guess we will finally know the truth, and you will be proven wrong for having suspected Neith, Nico says, pushing the chamber door open. Letitia's handmaid sat on the bed, still looking bruised, but the swelling on her face had come down reasonably well. She turned her attention from the window to us, and her eyes widened. Your Majesty. She says she is struggling to get up from the bed, but I stopped her before she could. Don't strain yourself, you are still very much hurt, I say to her, and she bows, bringing her head down while fudging with her hand nervously. I believe you know why I am here, I questioned, getting a nod from her. Her head was still down, avoiding our gaze. Tell me everything. It was silence for a moment before she raised her head. Her eyes shifted from me to Nico, then back to me. Her lips parted like she was about to say something. Instead, she gulped, looking back down, fearful. I don't know if you would believe my words. She says it so softly. Letitia has never, for one day, doubted you and kept on saying you weren't the type to betray her. So you are free to speak, I'm all ears, I said.
The truth, no matter how hurtful it might be, is something we need to know.
She nods, gulping nervously. And Letitia is right, I would never betray her. She paused, fudging with her fingers. I was well aware of the fact that something was amiss with Gala. She was always nervous and seemed to be watchful of her surroundings. It's also true that I was there when she took her last breath, but I wasn't the one who killed her.
Believe me, Your Majesty,
she cried out with tears pooling in her eyes. After she had left the queen's chamber to get another bowl of soup, Queen Letitia had asked me to go check in on her since she was running a bit late. That was when I saw her, lying there in the pool of her blood. I tried to help her while at the same time asking her who had done this to her, but as she took her last breath, she only ever mentioned the Princess Nithotep name.
What is this? Some kind of ruse?
Nico yells, giving her a glare. Are you in cohort with King Orin, and now that he is dead, you are trying to escape being punished? Is that it? No, Lord Eidos, I would never. She stuttered out. I also thought the same thing, that the princess would never do anything to the queen, but I was proven wrong when I was kidnapped by Kaelin. Kaelin? I asked when she mentioned Letitia's former guard. Yes, my king. For some reason, Kaelin seems to work for the princess and was the one who brought me here. He had told me he didn't mean to harm me, but I couldn't do anything since he needed to go protect the princess. He also told me the only way this was going to end was if the princess got what she wanted. The queen gone. My fist was clenched tightly as I struggled to keep my emotions in check. My mind was clouded, trying to make sense of everything. How could such a thing happen? I knew I thought of King Orin's words being true, yet a huge part of me wanted nothing more than to rant. Nothing was ever going to prepare me for the fact that my sister had betrayed me and that she had been the one to do all this. Glancing towards Nico, I saw the look of pain and anguish on his face. The tears gathered around his eyes, and he stumbled back, using the wall as a form of support. His gaze met mine, with his lips parted in gasps. A lone tear fell from his eyes before shaking his head and storming out of the room. Neith's betrayer had hurt us both, and the more I tried to make up reasons as to why she would do this, the more I was left shattered, thinking about Letitia being in her hold. Letitia. My heart escalated, and I ran out of the room. I needed to find Letitia, and I needed to know she was okay. The thought of losing her was unnerving. I couldn't wait, knowing her life was in danger.